Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Yahayawa, Laratazawan, Amarya Paya, Wahagayawan, Labia, Lapunika, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Kakwadash, Taza Warrior Waga'alya. All praise to the Most High in the name of the Son. All right. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in my sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. All praises to Yahweh. Yeah, we're working. Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. Peace and blessings be upon the hopeful elect. Double honors to our elders and apostles. They came back in the reincarnation known as Great Millstone. I want to do this video while the world is focused on Israel and Iran. The world leaders came together and they had a meeting. They had a meeting from, I believe it was July the 12th. Let's see. Not July, June. It was from June 12th to the 15th. So a couple of days ago, they had this meeting in Stockholm, Sweden. And I'm just going to get straight into this. It says Stockholm, June 12, 2025. The 71st Bilderberg meeting will take place from 12-15 June 2020, 12 to 15 June 2025 in Stockholm, Sweden. As ever, a diverse group of political leaders and experts from industry, finance, academia, and the media has been invited. The list of participants is available on bilderbergmeetings.org. Now, topics for discussion this year are, and that's what this video is going to be based upon, is one of these topics of discussion. And the first one, let's just read through the list here. All right, it says transatlantic relationship, Ukraine, U.S. economy, Europe, Middle East, authoritarian axis, defense, innovation, and resilience, AI deterrence, and national security, proliferation, geopolitics of energy and critical minerals, and then depopulation and migration. So what I want to focus on right here is depopulation. And when we hear depopulation, you already know what Esau's MO is, but I decided to ask AI just to see what it would say. So I asked ChatGPT. How would a government go about depopulating their country? All right, it says the topic of government intentionally depopulating its country is extremely serious and deeply troubling. It typically falls into the realm of human rights violations, genocide, or crimes against humanity when done intentionally or systematically. And what we're seeing right now is a systematic execution of depopulation. And, this was written on something called the Georgia Guidestones. And it's no wonder that the Georgia Guidestones, they got destroyed and it got leveled. All right. And what was one of the things that was written under the Georgia Guidestones, I believe it was to keep population of humanity under a certain amount of millions, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 500 million, I'm not sure, under a billion. But continue on, says historically efforts to reduce populations have occurred under totalitarian and authoritarian regimes, and they are almost universally condemned under international law. However, to answer your question from an analytical standpoint in our advocacy, here are ways in which depopulation might be pursued, either actively or passively, in their historical and theoretical context. So I'll just read some of these. The first one says coercive population control. So it says forced sterilization or contraception mandates. And we know, a lot of women had trouble conceiving and giving birth after they went out there and they took that back in 2019, 2020, 2021. There was a certain virus that broke out, and a lot of people went to go get their DNA compromised. And in doing so, you might have become sterilized. So this is just one way. It says limits on childbirth. And that's when they do it through sterilization. Verse number 2, it says indirect depopulation through neglect, withholding healthcare, education, or food resources. So we see that going on. All right. Healthcare in the U.S. is extremely expensive, depending on what provider you're with. But even so, it's very hard to get regular healthcare. All right. Which in turn, if you can't get healthcare, then guess what? You're going to be at dis-ease. Eventually, your body's going to deteriorate. Failure to respond to pandemics, famine, or disaster relief. We saw that with Asheville. All right, that was part of Trump's speaking points on his campaign. Is that what happened at Asheville? It was atrocious. So now, speed up till now, he wants to completely dismember and do away with FEMA and just have the military go in and help. All right. But this would also be a way of indirectly depopulating by not failure to responding to these certain things. And we see that again with Asheville and Katrina. All right. Environmental degradation without mitigation. And we see that happening. All right. Especially with the whole, if you're a farmer, basically Trump is against you. All right. If you're an environmentalist, you're heavy into being into the environment. The government doesn't want you to do that. Right? They don't want you to be all natural. They don't want you to grow your own seeds. They don't want you to hold your own seeds. All right? They want you to come to them. All right? You eventually, the seed banks might get outlawed. It says these lead to higher mortality and lower birth rates without explicit violence. You see that? So there's ways to depopulate people without being violent. Inducing mass immigration. It says creating economic conditions that drive people to leave. And we're seeing a mass exodus of Elamites, East Indians, going back to their country. Because here it ain't nothing left. I mean, all they got to do is go apply for a job in a call center over there and they can get a U.S. job. A lot of companies are outsourcing their work over into India. It says, e.g., examples, high taxes, lack of jobs, oppressive laws. Another way to depopulate by inducing mass immigration is civil or ethnic unrest that encourages flight. That's why Trump said, if you want to self-deport yourself, we will give you money to get on it. We'll give you a free plane ride and we'll give you money to get set up to wherever you want to go. Now, this is depopulation in the sense where it's just immigration. It's migration. It's just like leave the country to decrease the population, not necessarily leave the country and go back to the spiritual world, as in to put someone in the grave, to delete somebody. All right. This is the one I want to focus on, though. These next couple, it says number 4, it says state-sanctioned violence, ethnic cleansing, or genocide. Examples: Rwanda, Cambodia under Pol Pot, and I'm not even going to mention this one because this wasn't even considered a genocide. All right, babies were being born. All right, those weren't G chambers. Those were showers. They were given showers. There were swimming pools. There were extracurricular activities set up. All right, it was basically a pit stop before they could go and get the land grab. That's why there's all-out war going on right now. People know they're not supposed to be in that land. It says targeted killing of dissidents or minorities, and we see that right now. All right, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the number ones that are targeted when it comes to state-sanctioned violence. Warfare, especially civil war or mass bombings of civilian areas. Number 5 says propaganda and psychological manipulation, discouraging reproduction through state-sponsored campaigns, Planned Parenthood, promoting anti-nationalism or extreme environmentalism as a state doctrine. Not inherently evil, but could be part of a broader depopulation effort if coercively enforced. So all of this is being discussed among the world leaders. Well, it was discussed. This isn't like an official meeting. This is more like a private meeting. All right, it's a very, very private meeting. All right. It says, why would a government want to depopulate? Historically, rationals, however, twisted. And you see that, however, it's twisted. So if it's twisted, depopulation is twisted. Why is it on the agenda with all these private world leaders? These world leaders in a secret meeting. It says ethnic and racial ideology, resource scarcity fears, environmental control, maintaining political power or social control. And that's what it is. All right. They want to depopulate. It's just another chip, another card that needs to be, or a puzzle piece that needs to be put in place in order to bring forth the mark of the beast, the MOTB system. In order to do that, they have to cause some type of chaos. They got to cause some type of false flag. All right. And behind the scenes, really, they want to depopulate the people. And in doing so, they're going to back people into a corner and say, well, you know what? If you don't want to get depopulated, then just take this chip. Put this chip in your hand. All right. Now, I also asked it, there's another one here, another point I want to make. Let me see. And then I'm going to get the precepts. Okay, here we go. If you were tasked with explaining what depopulation is on TV to a whole country, what would you say? All right, and no, that's not the one. All right, where is it at? Here it is. Let me get the scripture first, but this is the question that I asked the Slovakia. Bear with me. All right. It says, I asked it, how did the Chaldeans rule in secrecy? And if they were around today, how would they rule similarly using AI? All right. It says, the Chaldeans, historically speaking, were a Semitic people who rose to prominence in Babylonia around the 9th and 6th centuries BCE. They established the Neo-Babylonian Empire under the kings Nabopolassar and Nebuchadnezzar II. They didn't exactly rule in secrecy, but the idea of secret Chaldean rule comes from their reputation as master astrologers, priests, scholars, especially in the fields of astronomy, divination, and esoteric knowledge. All right, now let's go down. Okay. If the Chaldeans were around today, how would they rule using AI? It says, if you imagine a modern Chaldean like elite, skilled in esoteric knowledge and acting behind the scenes, here's how they might use AI for quiet but powerful influence. Because remember, in the Bilderberg meeting, one of the items is AI deterrence and national security. So they want to deter it, they want to govern it from getting it too crazy, but they also want to use it. Also, they also want to discuss how to secure nations. You know what I'm saying? Make sure governments and infrastructures are secure from attacks against AI or countries using AI to infiltrate. But really, they're going to try and use AI to assert their dominance, and they're going to come off. Well, I want to read some of this here, because remember the Chaldeans in Isaiah 47 chapter, and I'll go into it. All right. It says that they would rule in secrecy. All right. And they would use their sorceries to confuse the people. All right. It says, Isaiah 47 and verse 12, it says, now this is Isaiah 47 and 1. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. This is America. All right. United States encoded in the scriptures. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Now let's just look up Chaldeans real quick on Blue Letter. All right. Chaldeans. Kashadyama. Akashadyan. Yeah. All right. The territory Euphrates, this person considers those persons considered the wisest in the land. All right. So these were your your different magistrates, but they relied heavily on something to keep their power. All right, and that's what I want to talk about. All right, the red horse and the pale horse. They're ruling in secrecy now, but everybody's going to see these horses come out full force. All right. Now, when you jump down to verse 12, it says, "Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so, shalt thou be able to profit. If so, be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels." All right, right. And that Bilderberg group is the council. "Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee." All right, so what they're gonna try and do is, and one of those sorceries that they use is AI. Now let me just read this. If Chaldeans were around today, how would they rule using AI? If you imagine a modern Chaldean like elite, skilled in esoteric knowledge and acting behind the scenes, hear how they might use AI for quiet but powerful influence, data divination, digital omens. They'd study predictive analytics and behavioral data like ancient omens. Just like they interpreted stars, they'd read data signals to forecast political instability, consumer behavior, economic shifts. And we see that. That's what companies do. All right, they look at a certain amount of purchases and they say, you know what, load that shelf up. We can make money here. We can corner the market in this area. All right. Or just like leading up to the campaign, you see certain stocks were skyrocketing. You know what I'm saying? If you invested in certain stocks and things like that, you were good. But now that there's political instability, all right, these are the data signals that they would read. They read and they take advantage of. That's why you see the whole division of the MAGA supporters. Trump's foundation for why he got into office is cracked. These Chaldean like elite, like it says here, that the curtain is being pulled back a little bit. Everybody's seeing that, your algorithms are bullshit. Economic shifts. We're seeing that right now. Consumer behavior. All this is really used, consumer behavior, all this is going to be used for what? The MOTB system, right? The mark of the beast system. Algorithmic influence. Develop or manipulate recommendation systems, news algorithms, or social media feeds to subtly shape public opinion. And that's what they do. You only get in a certain amount of news outlets. All right, I was watching this video of Candace Owens, and she brought out some information I never even knew, because the news on it only came out in Israel, going back to that whole October strike in what was that, 2023? So that false flag, and she was saying that Israel, they weren't only just killing people, deleting people in Gaza, Palestinians, they were deleting their own people. They're saying if you cross this line, you're going to get deleted. So the public opinion was shaped to believe that they were justified in what they were doing. You see? And it's all a part of what? The algorithm. This man's a web. It says they will influence elections, markets, or societal norms without direct control, just nudging. And that's what they do. They use the puppets. All right. They use celebrities. They use entertainers to shape how people think. All right, to do a stress test. Whenever a business wants to go live and bring forth a new product or something, or to see how it'll do in the environment, in the market, they do something called a stress test. And what's that? Using celebrities to push forth certain things. See how people react. Hey, let's have this celebrity say this in the news. Let's see what people say in response to it. They don't give a damn whether the celebrity uses their reputation or not. As long as their program or their rule or their political stance stays in place. says cognitive engineering. Use AI generated content, including deep fakes, personalized messaging, and chatbots to spread ideas or disinformation. And we see that across different social platforms. Psychological warfare, persuasion, and mystique would be their modern day rituals. So we see the psychological warfare right now. First everybody was focused on Diddy, and then it shifted to Israel and Iran. You know what I'm saying? And no, it shifted. Yeah, there was messing with Gaza, and then the shift. Everybody forgot that they were fighting Hezbollah in the north. So it's a lot of physical, psychological warfare. And now they got this guy Tyler Scary in the news talking about he's going to get sued for $260 million. So it's all types of stuff, Yeah, they just outlawed Red 40 and all this other stuff that they put in these candy, then they now have to label that can lead to cancer. So it's a lot of psychological warfare. The people are wearied in their minds. And that's how the Chaldeans, or the secret council of the wicked, ultimately will stay in power, by ruling in darkness. It's the obfuscation of secrecy, operate through layered proxies, NGOs, tech startups, think tanks. So that's why you got these companies like Planeteers in the news heavy right now, because of what their technology, what they can provide in streamlining the process for the mark of the beast system to be established. Use AI to detect threats or whistleblowers and suppress them with plausible deniability. So all it takes is just a little bit of a lie to throw somebody off the course of figuring out what the hell is really going on the earth. What do the people who control the flow of the money, what do they really want? What are they really trying to do? All right, it's not hard to figure out. All right, here's some parallels between ancient Chaldeans and hypothetical modern Chaldean AI elites, because we're coming into a technocracy era, all right, where if you're not far enough in your advancements in technology, you're going to fall behind as far as being a power or a force on Earth. But eventually, everybody's going to have to get caught up, because everyone has going to be subject to that MOTV system, that beast. Ancient Chaldeans, they were astrologers, priests, interpreters of omens, but today they'd be AI engineers, data scientists, behavioral analysts. This is an important one right here, behavioral analysts. If you can track the behavior of something, you can contain it. You can get rid of it. You can prevent it from doing something you don't want it to do. That's what Esau Edom wants to do. Operate behind the throne, influence through opaque algorithms and predictive systems. Guard esoteric knowledge, control access to code, data, and technical systems, shape reality through symbols and belief, shape perception via media, AI-generated content, and social platforms. So we're seeing that ramping up right now. It's very, very hard to tell what is real and what's not sometimes. And that's what they want to do. All right. That's why David prayed this. Psalm 64 and verse 1, it says, "Hear my voice, O power, Alahaya. In my prayer, preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity." And we see that going on, just happened. While everybody was focused on the missiles going back and forth between Iran and the state of Israel, everybody was completely forgot that there was a secret Bilderberg meetup in Stockholm, Sweden. And look at this list again. I mean, they got the U.S. economy on here. I mean, that could be a whole nother video. Again, I can go on and on about AI and how it ties into the mark of the beast system, geopolitics of energy and critical minerals, which leads into this depopulation and migration. So we see all that going on with ICE. All right, you had I think it was somebody who works for the government in the courthouse got arrested in a federal building by ICE. All right. So we're seeing the depopulation as far as what they want the world to believe. But the true depopulation is going to come when that mark of the beast is instituted, when this man releases a new plague into the air, or into the water system, or throughout the foods. I mean, chicken plants are still being cut off. There's always a news article about egg recall, millions of eggs being recalled. So this is all works, all insurrection of the workers of iniquity. I mean, you got Bill Gates that owns the majority. I think what is it? For every 4,000 acres of farmland, I think Bill Gates owns one acre of that, or something like that. He basically owns up to 40, even maybe more now, 40% of farmland in the States. But it says, who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot arrows, even bitter words. So what is a bitter word? Depopulation. I mean, come on. There's no way you can spin it. AI is telling you that it's diabolical and twisted, but at the same time, it's on the agenda for the Bilderberg meeting that just got secretly went by. Now they're going to try and tell you it's about the birth rate decreasing and economic conditions of people going back to their countries. But what about the natural way? Because remember, Bill Gates said that people are a variable in the whole equation of depopulation. We have to get as close to zero as possible. That's what he was saying. That's wicked as hell. All right, let's look up. It says bitter words. All right, marar debar, bitterness or food or harlot's end of wickedness, cry of pain. All right, so these are painful words to people. All right, to us it's like, hey, come on, bring it on. Because we know the end is coming. Bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly they do shoot at him and fear not. You see, so their whole goal is to shoot in secret at the perfect, because what's not on this agenda is the Israelites finding out who they really are. Everybody turning their eyes on Israel and saying, you know what, these can't be the people of the Lord. They're causing too much havoc on earth. The real people of the Lord are going to be destitute, down, out, curses placed upon them, prophecy lining up to who they are. And Esau, Edom, modern day Chaldeans, all right, who's in control of the red horse and the pale horse. I'm going to get that next. They want to shoot in secret at the perfect, and that's what's going on with these Dep0p talks out there, man. That's secret counsel of the wicked. So that's why we ask Yahweh Shai, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Let's just see how to say that. Tha-sa-tha-yarnaya, Tha-sa-tha-yarnaya, thou hide me. Ma-sawar, from secret. Marayam, which means wicked. Ragasha. Let me see, what's Ragasha? From the insurrection. Ragasha, from insurrection. Pa'alia. All right, Pa'alia means of the workers. Pa'alia of workers are one, iniquity. All right, so Tha-sa-tha-yarnaya, Ma-sawar, Marayam, Ragasha, Pa'alia are one. All right. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai wa Abanaw Yahweh Ba'ashem Kakudash, in the name of the Son and our Father, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Now let's go to Revelation 6. Revelation 6 and 6 and 3. It says the second seal war, and we see that going on now. All right, because on that list too is what? Middle East. Okay, Revelation 6 and 3, it says, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard this beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, just like Esau, Edom came out red all over. It says, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And we see the peace being taken from the earth now. On the one hand, you have Trump talking about these nuclear deals. He's an Edomite. He's a red man. He's damn near orange. Talking about peace deals. Well, that was just used as a distraction so Israel could strike Iran. Now he's turning around and saying, hey, you better surrender or we're going to level you. So he's taking peace from them. But when in history, within the last, let's say 50 to 100 years, has Iran gone around the world, set up military bases, occupied in those countries around where the natural resources are, and took those resources from them, destroyed the people, set up different power plants and industrial complexes in these countries, destroyed the water of certain indigenous people just to rape the earth of resources. Oh, and by the way, not even going to pay the people for what they're worth who are going and getting these resources in these different places on the earth. See, this man is a complete devil. And that's what he's about to do. He's about to take peace from the earth. And that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And that's how we know that this is Esau Edom. When you read it, it says his blessing would be the sword. And by the sword thou shalt live. For thou hast the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth. So this man, Esau Edom, all right, Amalek at the highest level, your modern day Chaldeans, he's taking peace from the earth. He's doing psychological warfare. And he's got people becoming insurrectionists. I mean, you had a guy that was just found with pipe bombs in the States. You had another guy that went out there and there's probably an agent execution style and killed deleted those two Democrats. So that's what they got that red horse spirit on. Now, when we jump down, all right, verse 7, it says, and when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, pale representing death. All right, no more life in you. Being astonished. You know, when someone is very scared or they're feeling very sick, like they're on the brink of death, they'll turn pale. I said his name that sat on him was Death. All right. And hell followed with him, and power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. And when you go into the fourth part of the earth, that's going into the North America, Canada. All right, this is the fourth part of the earth. All right, even when you go into the breakdown of Canada, what is it? I think it's Canaan 4. All right, that da on the end of Canada goes back to the fourth character of the alphabet. All right, da, ba, ga, da. All right, so this is the fourth part of the earth if you can receive it. And this is where the main destruction is going to take place in World War III, the massive destruction. Because what Esau Edom doesn't understand is that Yahweh Shai also has a depopulation agenda. All right, he's going to completely depopulate everyone in the U.S. to kill with the sword, with hunger, with death, and with the beasts of the earth. And these are all the ways that they want to bring the depopulation through the red horse and through the pale horse, through these energy. They understand they may not, they may be coming in the spirit. They may not call themselves after these specific things because they don't want it to be a dead giveaway. All right, but they embody the red horse at the Bilderberg group, the secret council of the wicked. They embody the pale horse, because on there, when you go into Dep0p, it talks about depopulation happens because of economic woes. All right, well, economic woes lead to hunger, leads to people with lack of resources having to go out and get it how they live it, whether they have to kill, steal, or destroy. That's what the scripture says. The devil come not but to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's what this man wants to do. So this pale horse is about to be released very soon. We just need this war to escalate. We need this mark of the beast system to be fully implemented. And then we can say, you know what? This pale horse is out here because, hey, the internet might not be working by then. And look at this. It said hell followed him. How can hell be a place if it's following something? I thought hell was stationary, according to the Christian doctrine. All right, let me just read this ninth one. All right, because of my screenshot. It's another way that they want to try and depopulate. All right, but when you come to depopulate the elect of Yahweh Shem Shai, it's a wrap for you. The Lord is going to overturn the captivity and come back and take over the earth with 144,001/3. New Jerusalem is going to come back, even if you put some of New Jerusalem to death before they become New Jerusalem. Chadash Yerushalayim. Revelation 6:9, it says, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar souls of them that were slain for the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and for the testimony which they held. See, we hold close to these prophecies. We understand World War III has to happen. We understand meeting secret counsel of the wicked. They have to get up. And it's convenient that they got up during these dates, right when everything was going on in the Middle East. All right, when all those airstrikes and those missile barrages were coming through. All right, and defense systems are failing on both sides. So now you have the U.S., and I believe right now as I'm doing this video, I believe they're occupying Iran's airspace. And the U.S. has 14,000 fighter planes, which is a far stretch further than anybody else on Earth. So this man he's coming to bring that death. All right. Now also, like we just read here, us men of the Lord, we're not afraid of death. All right. We understand that some of us might become martyrs. And they cry with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest for a little season until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. So as the persecution and the death is coming upon some of the hopeful elect, as it continues, those that pass on early on in the time of Jacob's trouble are going to have to wait, until everyone gets gathered, until everyone's lot is fulfilled, everyone that should be killed, But hey, I pray and I know you were edified on this, and the water for all the precepts on the comment board, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua brought them to you all. And hey, keep watching, keep praying, because, whenever you see one thing going on in the news, go back and Google what else is going on, because there's a lot happening. And make sure that we stay focused on the major prophecies. Of course, that war, but also the mark of the pathway to the mark of the beast, because once that's mandated, it won't be too long after that. All right, all praises to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakwadash, Shalom to the hopeful elect.